Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We are ControlCase, and this is our FedRAMP 20x Automation and Action series. So we're going to talk through how we can help you cut your costs and speed up your compliance with this new program. Just a quick agenda. Want to introduce ControlCase for those of you who might not be familiar with our services, give you a high-level overview of FedRAMP, and then take a deep dive into FedRAMP 20x, and then see what's next for FedRAMP 20x for 2025 and beyond, and then have a little bit of time for some questions towards the end. Before we begin, I'm your host, Ashley Hibbs. I'm on the federal sales team here, and I am joined by my colleague, Eric Winkler, who is the president of our federal department.
Hello, everybody. This is Eric Winkler. I'm glad you're joining this webinar today. Thank you.
Sure. So a quick overview of ControlCase for those of you who aren't familiar with our services. We are a global provider of compliance as a service. So we have a subscription-based offering that bundles our proprietary GRC software and managed services. Just some facts here. I won't read through all of them, but we are a global company. We are headquartered here in Fairfax, Virginia, in the DC metro area. We also have offices in the US, Canada, and India. We have served over 1,000 clients and provided over 10,000 IT security certifications and employed just about 300 security experts. We are growing and expanding, so very exciting time for us here. We are able to improve efficiencies by doing more with less resources, and give you peace of mind and free up your teams to work on other projects. And so that puts the onus on us while we're doing your audit. Something that does differentiate us from some of the other auditors is we are not a check the box type auditor. We take a partnership approach with our customers. We want to make sure that we are maintaining the integrity of the audit with your overarching business goals in mind. So with this and with our proprietary compliance hub, we are able to provide you with a world-class audit and compliance certification, continuous compliance services that you can monitor through the Compliance Hub portal. So this is just a quick snapshot of the many certification services that we do. So we have PCI, High Trust, SOC, ISO, CMMC, High Trust, and of course, FedRAMP. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick it over to Eric to give a quick overview of FedRAMP and take it away from here.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. Obviously, I wanted to cover, first of all, what is FedRAMP? So FedRAMP is the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. It's a government-wide program that addresses the need to have a standardized security assessment process and authorization process for all cloud products and services that will be used by the federal government. Obviously, it helps to ensure that these solutions meet the strict federal requirements before agencies start using them. It also provides a level of assurance for any federal agencies that want to use previously authorized services and adopt, so they can adopt these cloud technologies safely and with the lowest possible exposure to security risks as possible. Obviously, at the heart of it, the FedRAMP authorization process is, is a risk assessment process. Now, why would you want to go through FedRAMP? Obviously, it will give you access to the wide range of the federal marketplace with a large number of U.S. government agencies that will want to use cloud services, within their infrastructure. It gives you obviously an advantage over other cloud services because you've already demonstrated you can meet the strict requirements around FedRAMP, and you can show that you can you obviously can manage the risk of providing a cloud service. Additionally, um, performing your initial authorization allows you or allows multiple agencies to reuse the authorization that you achieved, and reuse the audit artifacts that were generated as part of your FedRAMP authorization process. And then obviously the ongoing portion of FedRAMP is called continuous monitoring. So with continuous monitoring in place, that helps you ensure that the risk of the risks, any risks that come out of within your cloud service environment are mitigated in a timely manner and in compliance with FedRAMP. So how long does a FedRAMP authorization process take? It really depends on the path that you want to take as a cloud service provider, and how prepared you are going into that assessment. Obviously, the biggest part of any FedRAMP authorization is having a completed system security plan for the cloud service offering that you want to get FedRAMP authorized. So that preparation period can typically take 3 to 6 months. It's basically ensuring your SSP is fully documented, making sure that it's basically you are audit ready from the perspective of vulnerability management within your cloud service, and having a complete and fully documented system security plan. Obviously, the security assessment itself typically can take 8 to 10 weeks. This is a formal audit that is performed by a FedRAMP accredited 3PAO, and the involves basically the testing of all the controls you've documented in your system security plan, in addition to penetration testing, and then remediation of any of the high risk findings that may have been identified during the assessment. And then finally submitting the full package to the federal agency that is going to provide your authorization to operate, as well as to the FedRAMP PMO. So the authorization step, which is the next step, obviously can be weeks to months, depending on the queue within the sponsoring agency, how long it takes sponsoring agency to review the FedRAMP package that your 3PAO helps you to put together. And then there's obviously a review process by the FedRAMP PMO before putting your cloud service onto the FedRAMP marketplace. The total timeline then is typically 9 to 12 months. You can move faster the more mature your system security plan is, the more mature your continuous monitoring process already is. From the vulnerability management and remediation standpoint, you may be able to move faster. Obviously, it could take longer depending too on the complexity of the environment, and it also can depend on how long it takes your supporting federal agency and the authorizing official within that agency to support you during the FedRAMP authorization process. So obviously FedRAMP, there are different FedRAMP security baselines. So one of the things that you'll have to do in preparation for FedRAMP is determine whether or not you are a low, moderate, high, or low impact SaaS risk baseline, security impact level, based on the level of risk of using your cloud service with the data that you're actually using. So you can determine your security impact level using the FIPS 199 impact levels for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So there's a FIPS 199 process you could follow to identify your impact level. Based on the level, obviously you'll have different number of controls that need to be met for FedRAMP authorization. Low has the fewest, moderate obviously has significantly more, and then high obviously the most. So you're moving from around 100, a little over 100 controls for low, to a little over 300 controls for moderate, and then over 400 controls for high. So there's a big difference in based on the security impact level that you've identified. Data sensitivity, obviously, low handles the less sensitive federal data. Moderate will cover, CUI data, and then high risk obviously involves data that would lead to, catastrophic loss, typically loss of material or lives. Those are those that would fall into the high risk, high impact area. As far as assessment rigor, obviously higher baselines require additional controls testing. There'll be additional document focus on documentation review. And then obviously, depending on the level, that'll impact the authorization efforts, so timelines and cost and complexity. Obviously, we increase with the higher the baseline goes. So due to having more controls and stricter validation requirements. And then lastly, agency usage. Obviously, low is often for public-facing low-risk systems. Moderate and is generally used for more common for federal use, and high is typically for law enforcement, emergency services, national security. So it really depends on where you're targeting your cloud service offering, what level you can go for. So even if your FIPS 199 identifies you as a low risk, low security impact level, you certainly have the option to choose higher levels if you wish to go for moderate or high, based on the requirements you have for your cloud service offering. So what role does a 3PAO play in the FedRAMP process? So a third-party assessment organization, or 3PAO, like ControlCase, has to be used to complete your FedRAMP authorization audit. A cloud service provider cannot self-assess. That's not part of the FedRAMP authorization process. So when you choose a 3PAO, you want to obviously, you can choose the 3PAO by following a basic interview process with them, understand what their experience is in performing FedRAMP certifications, other and state ramp certifications, as well as their familiarity with the NIST framework. So obviously FedRAMP is based on NIST 853 Rev 5. So the more familiar they are with that, the better prepared they are to perform your FedRAMP audit. You should also consider the experience and credentials of the employees to make sure that they have the relevant cybersecurity certifications. So there's a FedRAMP R11 requirement, CISSP, and other details that the FedRAMP assessor should have and must have in order to be part of a 3PAO assessment of your cloud service offering. Secondly, quality. Obviously, high quality 3PAOs go well beyond just performing the assessment and checking the box on the requirements. They will often walk you through the process of performing a FedRAMP authorization assessment, and they'll obviously guide you each step of the way, so you know exactly within each phase where you stand with respect to achieving your goal of receiving FedRAMP authorization. And lastly, you want to make sure the 3PAO is a trusted partner to help you through that challenging FedRAMP process. They should understand what your end business goals are and tailor that assessment methodology to meet your own, the business goals of your cloud service offering.
Awesome. So let's get into the FedRAMP 20x overview.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. So what is the FedRAMP 20x pilot program? What I had discussed previously was the FedRAMP authorization process that you would have to go through with the support of a federal agency. FedRAMP 20x is a new initiative from the GSA to modernize and accelerate the U.S. federal cloud authorization process. The idea is this will make the whole process obviously not only faster, more automated, but also more flexible to cloud service providers that want to um, basically cloud serve that to make it more flexible to cloud service providers so they can choose the FedRAMP authorization path that they want to go. That way, if they want to use the agency path, they can still use that and get an agency authorization. But if they don't want to, if they just want to be neutral and just are more self-sufficient, they can follow the FedRAMP 20x pilot program. And while it's currently in the pilot phase, at some point, FedRAMP 20x will become a full-blown FedRAMP certification and authorization process. So first keys to making it automated is the fact that you have to use a cloud native environment. So the idea behind 20x is to replace the manual documentation heavy audit preparation cycle with more of a real-time assurance to measure the security posture of your cloud service offering. So the idea is to reduce authorization timelines down to a few months instead of years, or many months, to reduce that down to weeks. So the idea is to go from months to weeks for authorization and take a lot of the wait time in the current process and remove that from the authorization timeline. So starting, obviously, they've started with the pilot programs. So you'll see notifications on the FedRAMP.gov website of what the current offerings are for their pilot programs. And obviously, cloud native providers are open to participate in those pilot programs without needing an agency sponsor. This makes it easier for you as a provider to enter the FedRAMP marketplace. It makes a use of what they call key security indicators. So instead of focusing down on the NIST 853 Rev 5 controls specifically, they've created a set of key security indicators to streamline how you can actually measure the fact that you're in compliance with the specific baseline controls. They've streamlined the process to get that information, collect the information, and validate the information using as much automation as possible. And then lastly, they basically want to make the process, as FedRAMP 20x pilot programs progress, they want participation to be encouraged through public working groups, forums, and community-driven feedback to basically ensure that as many people as possible can participate. And in addition to that, they actually can get feedback on how they've implemented their own FedRAMP 20x program. So here's a kind of an overview. I just want to get an overview of what 20x is. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, this is really a strategic shift in how federal cloud security authorization moves forward. Its approach is, again, using cloud native technologies for your cloud service offering, automated outcome-based assessments of that cloud service offering. The pilots are open to the public, so you don't need an agency sponsor. Key to this is the use of KSIs, or key security indicators, and using machine readable validation to confirm that the KSIs are being met. And then obviously have follow the submission is of a FedRAMP 20x, basically a FedRAMP. Let me go back to that. So submission of the FedRAMP 20x assessment has to be within the timeline, the time window specified by the FedRAMP PMO. So they will give you a window for each, if they have during the pilot program, of when you can submit your 20x documentation. And then authorization, once you receive authorization under the 20x program, it'll be good for 20 or 12 months under the current pilot program. The benefits here, obviously, it gets your cloud service offering in, authorized faster, and also allows transparency within the FedRAMP authorization process, and obviously gives you a stronger real-time security validation of your cloud service offering, as well as being transparent in how the FedRAMP 20x authorization process will actually work in the future once the pilot programs are complete. So what are the core goals of FedRAMP 20x? I think this is really why FedRAMP 20x has come into being. Obviously, they want to add automation to the process, but they want to make the automation attainable and usable by everyone within the ecosystem. They want to leverage existing industry frameworks. They want continuous monitoring of security, so that whether it's scheduled or at any time, you can actually at any time identify the current status of your key security indicators to ensure that you're maintaining the security of the environment. It builds trust because there's transparency in the process, enables obviously rapid improvements, as the pilots move forward, and with each successive pilot that they do go through FedRAMP 20x, there'll be rapid improvements to the entire process. Obviously, the FedRAMP low pilot just completed, but by getting listed in the marketplace without an agency sponsor has been streamlined. And once you participate in a pilot and you're listed, again, you'll be listed as FedRAMP authorized for 1 year under the 20x program. Greatly simplifies documentation. There is no system security plan required. Everything is done in machine readable format. So it really reduces and simplifies the documentation required for your authorization. It eliminates redundancy by leveraging any recent SOC Type 2 audits that you've done. So obviously, ControlCase does provide SOC 2 Type 2 audits to our customers. So having that available, enables you to be more efficient in producing your FedRAMP 20x package. 20x also is an excellent way for any cloud native cloud service providers to break into the federal market, especially if you're a smaller cloud service provider. So how does FedRAMP 20x aim to simplify this authorization process through automation? So basically 80% of the requirements are that they're putting together are intended to be supported through automated validation. So they want to eliminate the lengthy documentation review, report control, documenting how controls have been implemented, and that lengthy review and QA process of the documentation. So that's the overall goal. If 80% of the requirements are automated, that takes a lot of that burden off of everybody involved in the certification authorization process. So
Sure.
what's
So
next?
what's next?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ashley.
No, I was just going to segue into tell us what's next and what we can expect to see for the future.
Sure. So under the current FedRAMP authorization process, using agencies, there's a continuous monitoring process. With FedRAMP 20x, there's going to be an advancement in the continuous monitoring process where there'll be a hands-off validation and automated kind of enforcement of the security controls of the KSIs by the industry partners. So it's going to be very, you know, the collection and validation of the controls on a continuous monitoring basis, be very automated, um, and be much easier for cloud service providers to meet. So that's the intent of it, to take that hands-off approach in automation built into the continuous monitoring. So how does FedRAMP 20x aim to build trust between cloud service providers and federal agencies? Um, it wants to enable direct business level interactions, um, and preserving your, as a cloud service provider, preserve your control over your intellectual property while maintaining security standards that are required to be met uh, by the federal agencies to ensure your compliance with FedRAMP.
Thanks, Eric, for that overview. Hopefully, everyone found that helpful and got more clarification around FedRAMP 20x. Just to reiterate, ControlCase is a 3PAO and can absolutely help get your organization through FedRAMP 20x, especially since we already do SOC audits. So if you are a current customer and you've got a report that we've done for you, come and talk to us and see how we can help out. But yeah, with our automated, and continuous and integrated solutions, we are able to kind of ease that uh, audit fatigue and help streamline your resources throughout your audit process. So we are happy to help, and get in touch with us, and we'll make sure that we get you set up and on a path to success. So we have some time for a few questions, and we've got about two or three here. So the first one: who should not do FedRAMP 20x? Great question.
So as I mentioned earlier, FedRAMP 20x is focused on cloud services that are entirely based in an already authorized FedRAMP cloud. So if your solution is not 100% cloud based, then FedRAMP 20x wouldn't be for you. So you want to keep that in mind.
Great, that makes total sense.
Mhm.
The next question: what advice would you give to someone going through FedRAMP for the first time?
Uh, so if you're going through FedRAMP for the first time, whether it's um, FedRAMP through an agency ATO or FedRAMP through one of the 20x pilots, you want to make sure you have a good set of policies and procedures in place to manage your cloud service offering. So that's still critical, because whether it's um, measuring the KSIs in FedRAMP 20x or evaluating each of the control baselines as part of a FedRAMP ATO authorization, it's always going to come back to referencing those policies and procedures that you're using. So you're going to want to make sure that you have everything as tight as possible, as from a policy and procedure perspective, in line with the NIST 853 Rev 5 requirements.
Yep. Good information.
Mhm.
Let's see. I'm a small business with a staff that wears many hats. What resources should I come prepared with prior to my FedRAMP audit?
Uh, Again, does go back to being prepared from a process, policy, and procedure perspective. So you want to make sure everybody um, has the policies and procedures understood, and then you want to make sure you have your roles and responsibilities clearly defined. So even though you're all a small organization, there are specific roles and responsibilities that are critical to managing a cloud service offering. So you want to make sure you have those clearly defined. Everybody knows their roles and responsibilities within your organization, even if those roles are shared. For smaller organizations, You still want to know all, if you wear multiple hats, you want to know exactly what your responsibilities are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that is all the time we have for now. Please feel free to reach out if you have additional questions. Go to controlcase.com or contact us by any of the ways here shown on the screen via email or through our website, and we are happy to help. But we appreciate you taking the time to participate and look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for attending.
Thanks. Thanks, Eric. Take care.
Sure. Bye.
The ControlCase self-assessment tool enables anyone to evaluate readiness and receive certification proposals for key frameworks like CMMC, SOC 2, ISO 27001, and PCI DSS in under 5 minutes, even if you're not an MSP or TSP. With over 20 years of experience in compliance services, and after working with hundreds of unique customers, we've simplified the readiness and proposal process to something that can be completed in just minutes. No more emails back and forth. Whether for your organization or for your client's compliance needs, get audit ready fast with ControlCase. The questionnaire is short and user-friendly and can be answered without needing to track down complex evidence. Just complete the series of simple, self-guided, multiple-choice questions and receive an instant, customized compliance readiness report with a detailed audit or certification proposal perfectly tailored to your needs. This is an ideal tool to find a clearer path to achieving compliance, benchmark the security posture for you or your clients, or bring compliance as a service into conversation with technology providers. And for MSPs, eliminate third-party auditor delays and provide more value to compliance-conscious clients. Then, when you're ready to move forward, our all-in-one partnership approach makes compliance simple and affordable. Generate your CMMC readiness or compliance proposal in just minutes with a free self-assessment tool from ControlCase today.